Well, one of the primary ways by which the Catholic school achieves its mission is through the facilitation and promotion and encouragement of a particular culture. And the culture that a Catholic school is seeking to promote is primarily a culture of relationship. This is because of two reasons. First of all, of course, the school participates in the very mission of God's own life. And God's own life is relationship. This is what we mean by our understanding of God as Trinity. And so every part of the life of the church should in some ways be reflective of God's life. And every part of the church's life is reflective of God's life to the extent that it expresses the way in which we are drawn into the experience of relationship and the way in which relationship indeed nurtures us and encourages us and leads us into our full potential. Of course, we see this most beautifully expressed in the ministry of Jesus himself. Jesus can be thought of, in fact, as the very hospitality of God. His ministry is one of inclusion, and his ministry is also one of deep attentiveness. And so it's by the quality of his own presence and the quality of his relationship with others that he reflects the very invitation and possibility of God to people. And so if we are to participate in the ministry of Jesus, if we are to reflect something of the very life and mission of God, then we too are being asked to exercise in whatever we're doing a certain hospitality. And by hospitality, we really mean what we were talking about when we were talking about the quality of Jesus in his ministry. It's a quality of presence and it's a quality of attention. It's a quality of presence and it's a quality of attention that's infused with a third quality, and that is the quality of care. And so when we bring a presence and an attention and a care to what we are doing, then the very ministry of Jesus and the very nature of God's life is reflected through us. Well, when it comes to the life of our school, if our school, in all that it does, reflects a quality of presence and of attention to one another and of care for one another, then indeed it participates in the ministry of Jesus and reflects something of the very life of God. Those who are at the very forefront of the face of the school are those who have a very particular responsibility in this, because they are the very people whom others meet the nature of the school for the very first time. And so it's in our way of being present to those who come to the desk or who come to the gate or who come to the door or whatever. It's through our way of being attentive to who they are and what they require, and the way in which we can demonstrate an appropriate level of care for who they are and for what they require, through which we participate in this mission and in this ministry of Jesus himself, and as I say, in the very mission of God's own life. In some ways, we might think of what we do then through this wonderful term that a Benedictine writer speaks of, and that is the quality of tender competence. We need to be competent in what we do. We need to be professional in what we do, particularly at those times where we have many competing demands and where the level of stress can so easily threaten to overwhelm us. How we are competent at those times is critical, but how we also infuse that competence with a certain kind of tenderness. And by tenderness here I mean a certain gentleness, a gentleness that can, in a certain sense, let go of too much concern and pay attention to the one that is in front of us. Tender competence is a competence that is able to be present, is able to be attentive, and that can demonstrate a certain care even in the midst of the pressures that we might have to be dealing with at any particular time. When people experience a tender competence from us, then this is what indeed strikes them. And this is what they remember. And so they leave us thinking that this interaction has not been like interactions from other situations. We only have to think of those times when we ourselves are deeply affected by an interaction with someone on the other side of the counter of the bank or the post office, for example. And when we encounter that person who is present, who is attentive, and who is careful or care-filled with us, we come away thinking very differently than when we went into that situation. So we know the power that such encounters can have for us. Well, we too can bear the possibility of those encounters for others by the way in which we are present, attentive, and care-filled, by the way in which we demonstrate a tender competence. Often enough, we aren't able to meet what people are requesting of us. It may not be possible, or we may not have the time as such to deal specifically with what somebody's requiring of us at any given moment. But again, come back to the Benedictine tradition, the very least we can offer is, as St. Benedict remarks in his own text, is a kind word. And by that, St. Benedict was trying to indicate to us that even though we may not be able to meet the request that comes to us, we can still offer a gesture or a smile or a word that indicates that we are present, that we are attentive, that we do care. And though we may not be able to fulfill the demand that's been placed on us, nonetheless the person is encouraged by what we've been able to offer them. That is, they do not go away from us with any sense of alienation or estrangement. Rather, they go away with a sense of encouragement and a sense of belonging. So tender competence, the practice of tender competence, this way of being present, of being attentive, of demonstrating care, is a very powerful way by which this culture of relationship is established throughout the school. When the whole school community is characterized with this tender competence, then the whole fabric of the school develops this relational dynamism about it, and people experience themselves as who they truly can be. We are indeed made for relationship. We exist in relationship or not at all. We find ourselves most fully when we are drawn into the experience of relationship. And so every thing that we do in the context of our work has to in some way speak of this possibility. And it happens in the smallest of moments. What it takes from us is a mindfulness of why we are doing what we are doing, and a mindfulness that what we are doing has a significance, no matter how small or banal or ordinary it might seem. No, the quality of our interactions do change the culture of a school, for better or for worse. If our interactions speak of the possibility in the context of relationship, then the entire culture of the school is enhanced. And indeed, the very mission of God is accomplished precisely in and through us. And indeed, the very ministry of Jesus finds itself anew in our own time.